Hello, everyone. My name is Pete, and this is Removing Toil, improvements in the charmed operator ecosystem. I suppose toil being indicative of uninteresting work, work that you want to do. Work is actually quite fun sometimes and can be interesting, but toil we generally want to get rid of, programmatically if possible. So let me just give you kind of a recap. We presented the charmed operator framework at the last operator day. And I just kind of want to, for those who aren't familiar with it yet, obviously it's been touched on heavily in other presentations, but just in case you're jumping in to this presentation to start, or you just want the recap, the charmed operator framework is our Canonical's way of basically enabling and encouraging, promoting experienced human operators to kind of set down all of the knowledge and wisdom in their head in a program, in a software program. And that's kind of inherent to the operator pattern. I mean, that is ultimately what an operator is. It's a piece of software that does what a human would do because the human has set down their skills and knowledge in a program. But the charmed operator framework is especially focused on that aspect of the operator pattern, just in terms of building a community around it, in terms of making it as simple as possible to write and share your code, and all sorts of other wonderful things. We've also, this is kind of operator day focused very much on Kubernetes. Canonical has software called Juju, which basically implements the operator pattern in the VM world, and has done so for going on a decade or so. So this is a kind of an idea, software operating other software that we're very familiar with. And a lot of our work over the past year, not really toil, but genuine work, has been to make it possible to kind of translate a lot of our lessons learned and experience into the Kubernetes space. And to that end, we've designed this thing called Pebble. Pebble is a really lightweight, you'll probably hear, again, you'll hear about it in some of the other presentations here, but Pebble's a really lightweight, standalone, light touch way of adding just a little bit of extra controllability and operability to a container. So it is a small Go binary. It is going to continue to be small into the future. We're very picky about what features we actually drop into Pebble. It should basically allow you to do things that you really want to do, and just get out of your way the rest of the time. And there's a little chart here. Basically, Pebble inserts itself into the start hooks of a Docker container, or it doesn't have to be a Docker container, just any container. And it allows the operator, both the human operator and the software operator, to control that container without really disrupting what the container is intended to do. So last time we spoke, we had a solid base in place. We had a charmed operator framework that was simple and Pythonic. It is important to us to be also part of the Python community in terms of this code. If you are familiar with Python and write Python and love Python, this should feel very comfortable to you. If you're familiar with Python and write Python and don't love Python, oh well, but it should be a smooth and experience that is mindful of some of the pitfalls of Python and works around them in kind of known best practice ways. We also had at that time, I think, a production quality code base. This is stuff that's ready to use. There are definitely more things we would like to implement, more features, but this is something you can get off and running with. And we covered, we were compatible with most basic Juju functionality. We'll get to, when we get to future plans, we'll talk about what we still need to cover. But we're basically in a good place. There's a lot of things we want to do, and I'll talk about that next. But I think we presented a very nice kind of starting point to think about making and sharing operators in this context. So what have we done since? Well, we have put together some really excellent reference documentation. We have run several workshops and done a lot of outreach. Again, a lot of the focus on this talk is going to be less about code and more about philosophy and community, because this really is what the Charmed Operator framework is. It's designed to be as minimal as possible, light touch as possible, just enable people to get in to the important business of kind of sharing their knowledge both within and without their organization, and operating complex software. Our piece of that doesn't need to be super complex. And the other thing we've done is introduce Charm libraries. That is something that we think is important, just in terms of reusability and being able to share some common best practices and patterns with each other. A Charm library is a single Python file that has some special ways of being versioned and attached to a charm that basically allows you to break out a piece of code and share it with the community. And there's an example of one of those later on here. Let's see. We have also made some big improvements to Pebble. Again, Pebble is in a similar state where it was production-ready code. I think it made a good case for itself, and we've just been kind of fleshing out, again, being very picky about what features we had, but adding the really, really important bits and pieces. Basically, we've added the ability to Pebble exec, much like LexD exec or Juju exec, or and any other tool that you're familiar with. Just to kind of, oh, you know what? These are out of order. I'm sorry. I'm going to cover this. This is actually the slide. So this is Pebble exec. It allows you to run a command in a container. It's not too fancy. The other thing we worked on for Pebble is a files API. Right now, this is just a simple way of pushing and pulling files from a container. It is going to expand to push and pull directories from a container. But again, it's designed to be pretty simple and lightweight. If you just need to put a file in your container, that should be easy. And we've enabled logging. So basically, you don't have to dig in a lot of places to see what your containers are doing. If all of that stuff is managed centrally through Juju, and Pebble faithfully reports its logs up through the chain. So let's see. Yeah, we're a little bit crunched for time, so I will speak fast and catch up. Where are we going in the future? What things are we working on next? Well, we've shared our roadmap publicly. So if you go to juju.is/roadmap, you can see it, and definitely please comment it on the forum. Make comments on the forums if you have basically any opinions, things that we're missing, things that you think that we should be focusing more on, or just, hey, great job. I'm really looking forward to seeing these features. That also is wonderful to hear. And kind of in more detail, I mean, a screenshot of the roadmap is too useful. I encourage you to go in and play with it. But the general scope of what we're working on for the next months is basically to expand the documentation, especially to focus not just on reference docs, but really excellent tutorials, really excellent explanatory docs. I think if you're familiar with the framework, it's really easy to go and get your questions about a specific routine answered. But we want more just kind of, and we have some very nice getting started tutorials, but we want more of the tutorial stuff, more of the kind of like inviting you into the logic behind what we're doing, and give you kind of a solid base. The next thing is we are expanding, basically supporting new Juju features going forward and supporting some of the features that we're still missing. We're working on Charm library discovery. Basically right now you can write a Charm library and publish it and talk about it in the forums, and that's great. It's not super easy to find just an arbitrary Charm library on the Charm Hub, and we're thinking about the best way to kind of make them more discoverable. And we're also adding a harness for networking and storage tests. The operator framework, one of the really wonderful things about it, the thing that makes it lovely to work with, is that it has a great testing harness. It is easy for us to develop new code because we have tests that we believe actually are testing real functionality and will catch us if we make mistakes. And we want to expand that excellent testing harness into basically handling mocks. Well, not mocks. I don't want to get into implementation details, but handling networking and storage in a way that is lighter weight than an actual production deployment, but allows you to test something real. So that's about it. I wanted to encourage, I will have, I think, brief time for questions at the end, but I just wanted to encourage you, if you have questions or want to participate, write charms, contribute to the core code, please come and join us. You can find us on charmhub.io. Our forums are at discourse.charmhub.io, and we have a public Mattermost at chat.charmhub.io. Mattermost is a really friendly chat client. I know it's potentially another chat client, but it's very simple to get into it on your browser, and people are responsive and friendly. So that's about it.